The first thing I ever...
You lie!
Oh, thank you. The first pieces of fiction that I ever created were lies. They were tall tales or fibs or whatever, you know, people wanted to call them when you're a kid. You don't call them lies. But the first time I ever thought about the morality of telling the truth was when you hear about a story about George Washington cutting down that cherry tree. But then I come to find out that that story is actually fabricated as well. So they actually had to make up a story to tell you how bad it is to lie. So I got the dictionary out and I was thinking, you know, what is the truth? So I look up truth and I think, there's like 6 definitions for the word truth. 6 different ones. So now I'm kind of all lost and I decide, well, that's not getting me anywhere. So I pull out the pen and the paper. I think I'm going to make a list of all the things that I know are true. Things I know, 100% true. So I'm racking my brain. I go through my like weight, height, blood type, and I don't get anything of value. And when I was a kid, when I was a little kid, everything that I said was somehow made up or embellished or stretched or something, but it just wasn't ever 100% true when I was a little kid. Like, for example, I stole some Hall's cough drops, thinking they were candy, from a Safeway. I went home, I ate a whole pack, I started getting sick. My mom said, what's wrong? And I said, well, it must have been something you made for dinner. I don't know what was wrong. And then, you know, my breath smelled like Vicks Vapor Rub. And then there was this other time when I shot the sliding glass door out with a BB gun from the inside of the house, but then said, well, I'll tell my mom that I shot out from outside the house. That happens. But then I didn't realize that the double-pane window on the outside was not broken. So that was just a problem for me. I used to tell people that my father was a brain surgeon. I think everybody in elementary school thought my dad was a brain surgeon. They never realized he was driving a kind of a beat-up Chrysler LeBaron when he dropped me off at school, but they never got that. I used to tell people that I had 4 older brothers. I don't have 4 older brothers. So I would make up these things to make my life seem more interesting because I thought, well, it's not that exciting. Let's spice it up a little bit. So I started telling these stories, telling these little tales, making these things up as I went along. But my entire life's been involved around fiction, movies, television, but especially books. It's just everywhere I look. And especially as a kid, my whole world was made up. And that's fine when you're a kid. But there are certain people who don't ever grow out of that. And they never realize that, you know, it's okay to make up stories as a kid, but they grow up and they just continue that trend. They just make up everything. I've kind of grown out of it a little bit. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I still do every now and then, like all of us do. So, of all the 10 Commandments, the one that we all break is the lying one. I think everybody knows that. It's pretty easy not to kill somebody. It's fairly easy not to have sex with your neighbor's wife. But it's pretty hard not to lie. I think we could all agree on that, you know? It's hard for me anyway. And so there was this whole big trend. This book, James Fry, you know the story, and it broke up with this whole thing about, well, what is the meaning of truth? Does it matter if something is partially true, if it's made up? And then there was this whole fallout. He goes on to Oprah. She tears him into a million little pieces on TV, okay? And then I start thinking, though, why is this happening? I mean, some of it was made up, but I still get the message. Is the message more important? And I think it might be. I still got the gist of the addiction and all of that. So maybe it might be a good idea to worry less about what is happening as far as truthfulness and lies and buildings kind of like this that you see around from time to time, and kind of start worrying more about lies that are coming out of buildings like this, for example, because you never really hear about Oprah, you know, breaking this wide open. You know, she's not jumping on that one. And there's probably more interesting lies happening there than there are on the shelves of your local bookstore or anywhere like that. So we'll see what happens. But if you think about things, what is the message? I think the message is more important than what you're getting. If you look up the word fable and you look up the word parable, you'd be amazed how similar the actual definitions are. We don't think about one. One gets more weight than the other, but they're pretty much the same. So the basic sense is, and I don't want to base this on a cliche, but you know, you hear this, every story has 2 different sides, okay? Well, we live in a world that has 6 billion plus people, give or take. And every single one of those people has a certain point of view or a certain thing to say in that narrative of what's going on. So it's not that the truth does not exist. We just have to know it when we see it. And I think we can all agree when something is true that this is probably the closest thing to agreeing on something that we can ever know is perfect and true, and we all love this. And I thank you very much. Have a good night.